So, hello, good morning, and very welcome to this KEEP webinar that we will have. Yes, it says here that we will begin shortly, but we will begin straight away. Today, I will host this webinar together with my colleague, Jessica Wiener. And we have a very full and exciting program ahead of us where we'll dig into different aspects of traceability for electrical and electronic products. So we will start with the first block, which is an introduction, where I will present the project KEEP that we have been working with. And then Andreas Nobel from TCO Development will continue and talk about why traceability is important for sustainability. And then Magnus Nickaren from Svensk Handel will give us the latest news about what is happening with the product passport discussions in EU. After that, we will continue with talk about traceability for producers, where we will start with presenting a prototype that we have been developing in the project. It will be Ture Waller from Chalmers Industriteknik presenting that. After that, we will get some input from companies that have been testing this prototype. Lenovo, Dustin, and Transparent. Unfortunately, Henrik from Clas Ohlson is sick today. Then we will go a bit further down in the product's life cycle and talk about refurbishment and remanufacturing and why traceability is important for these actors. And it will be Emma Nilsson and Claes Hansson Glad from Godsinlösen that will talk about traceability for refurbishers. And then Hannes Mäke from TCO Development will show a prototype that we've been doing there as well. And we are very happy that this is not the end of our journey. So we will also have the fourth block about how we will continue the KEEP project. And it will be Jessica Wiener who starts presenting there. And then Staffan Olsson from GS1 Sweden and Fredrik Benson from Elkretsen will also give their input on the continuation of this project. And after that, we will answer your questions and have a panel discussions with all the participants. So please ask a lot of questions. There is a tab called questions where you can ask what you want. And if you have a question that you want someone specific to answer, please write that as well. Otherwise, we will decide who will answer them at the end. And there's also a voting function there. So if you see that someone else has put a question that you think is really interesting and you think that we should answer, you can give it a vote. And then we will see that at the end as well. So if there are a lot of questions, we will prioritize those with most votes. So that was the agenda for today. Very welcome again. I think we start directly. So we have the first block then with the introduction. So KEEP, we start with a problem that I think many of you are aware of, and that is that we are very good at producing new products in the world, but we are unfortunately not as good at handling them and taking care of them and making sure that they are recycled at the end of their lives in a good way. And electronics is no exception from this. We have a lot of electronics waste around the world, which has different kind of impact for the environment. And there are many different solutions to tackle this problem. In KEEP, we have been focusing on how to tackle this problem and make the use of electrical and electronics products more sustainable with help of a traceability solution. And this with this slide, we try to summarize what we mean with a traceability solution. So the starting point is that all products should have a unique identity. It can be a barcode, it can be a QR code as on this phone, or a RFID tag, for example. And with help of that, each product have a unique identity. All the actors throughout the product's life cycle, from the production to the material recycling, can both share information with other companies, users, and organizations, and also download and retrieve information about the products in order to make more sustainable choices about the product at that part of the life cycle. And we will talk more about this later on, but we see that there are many positive effects for the environment and regarding sustainability and circular economy with help of traceability. If we start at the bottom with sustainable production, if you know more about how the products are produced in terms of environmental impact from production and also social conditions in factories, etc., then we think that people will choose the products that are produced in a more sustainable way. So we want to provide this information for them. And then we see that once the products are out on the market and they have their first user, we want them to be used as long as possible. So, and there we also see that more information can ensure that products are used for a longer time. It can, for example, be that once the first user don't want the product anymore, you can find another user. If the products need to be repaired, both private persons and different repair shops and remanufacturers can get information about what spare parts are available, where can you access them, how can you repair the products, etc. And then we have the third area, which is material recycling. And that is once the products are no longer possible to use, there are no more users that want them, then we want to ensure that all material are kept in the circular system. So we have a really efficient material recycling. But it's not only the environment that can benefit from a traceability solution. In the KEEP project, we have been working a lot with understanding the benefits and advantages and possibilities for different actors throughout the product's life cycle. And here are the groups of actors that we have been working with. And we won't have time to go through all of them now, but there are lists with advantages for all different kinds of actors in our final report. But I thought that I would give one example here. And that is possibilities with traceability for producers and retailers. So if we start at number 1 here, it will be easier for producers to monitor their supply chain. Today, supply chains are often big, and producers, they have many different products, and there are a numerous number of suppliers in their supply chains. And it's not always easy to have an overview of this. So with traceability, it's easier to monitor that in a good way. You can develop better products because with a traceability solution, producers will also get information about how products are used, for how long, why they break, etc. And this information can hopefully be used to develop products that last longer. And if you have products that are produced in a sustainable way, it will be easier to demonstrate this to buyers with a traceability solution. So it can give you a competitive advantage. We also see that when you ensure that each product have a unique identity, it's also easier to tell that product story. Where has it been produced? How many users have had it before you? How has it been repaired, etc. And that also makes, you give the product a story. If you're a producer or a retailer that wants to work with take back, in other words, once the first user don't want the product anymore, you want to take it back, maybe repair it and then sell it to someone else, this will also be easier to keep track of with help of a traceability system. And if there are recalls, the traceability system also gives you hopefully a direct line to the users and make these recalls easier. And we also think that traceability will help internally within a company to get everyone on board on this journey towards sustainability, and also show that this is the impact that we have of product, this is how we can work with it. So we see that there are numerous advantages with traceability. And we are happy that we are not the only one talking about traceability and why it's important. During the KEEP product, the EU has started talking about something called the product passport. It was first mentioned 2019 in the European Green Deal. I have to connect my charger, sorry. How can this happen? Sorry. So this we will laugh about after.
So then I'm continuing. When the European Union or the European Green Deal announced the electronic product passport, we were quite happy because that is exactly what we understand. That's a traceability system. And it helps to provide information on a product's origin, composition, repair, and dismantling possibilities, and the end-of-life handling. And not only there, the topic came up also. The Swedish government has announced to actively support the development on the product passport at EU level, and in Sweden's Circular Economic Action Plan on point 1.1.1, which was released in the beginning of this year, the Swedish government mentioned the product passport as a very important way to assist the circular economy. On the EU level, the EU Commission has just closed a public consultation on the Sustainable Products Initiative, and many companies, or all companies, were invited to give their opinion on that. And we know that many of our members have submitted an answer. We started with KEEP in 2018 with a pre-study, and that was financed by Vinnova, the Swedish innovation agency, and then continued, and that is where we are now, with the development of a proof of concept, our prototype. And this is, was starting in 2019 and is ongoing until the end of this month. So this is why we are holding today our final seminar, and we are aiming now for a third step, where we want to do full-scale testing and then evaluation of the traceability system, and look how to take future steps. What is actually the purpose of KEEP? KEEP's purpose in phase 2, where we are now, is to define the information needs throughout the value chain to enable circular systems, to develop two prototypes, which we will present in a minute from our members, and then to evaluate those prototypes together with the actors in the value chain, our project members. If you want to see our prototype, please go to keepelectronics.com, our homepage. There we have published the prototype from our producers and added different products in them. And here, my colleague is back. So
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I know that you will laugh a lot about this after everything prepared, and then the cable is not in. Yeah, thank you. Someone thinks I'm good that I'm back. You want to continue, Jessica?
No,
okay.
You continue.
Yeah. So we also have one more prototype that we have been developing in the project for a refurbisher. And I guess Jessica said that as well, but both these prototypes will soon be presented in much more detail. And if you also want to read more about what we have been doing in the project, there is a fresh final report at our webpage uploaded yesterday. So please go in and have a look at that one as well. And this is the best slide when we talk about KEEP, because we have been 14 great partners doing this together. And the team here, we have 4 organizations working with sustainable production in different ways. It's Lenovo, Dustin, Clas Ohlson, and TCO Development. Then we have Godsinlösen and Skandigruppen working with a reuse perspective. And for material recycling, we have the producer responsibility organizations, Elkretsen and Recipo, and then the recyclers and pre-processors, Stena Recycling and Mirek. And we also have 2 organizations representing the users, the NGO, Naturskyddsföreningen, and the tech support for private persons called TechBuddy. And then we also have GS1 Sweden, who has been helping us with information sharing and standards. And then it's us at Chalmers Industriteknik doing the project management. And with that, I will leave the floor to Andreas at TCO, who will talk about why traceability is important for sustainability. I hope you have your charger in, Andreas.
Yeah, actually I do. So I think it won't be a problem. But I have a newborn daughter who might scream. So I'll see. Let's see. Let's hope for the best. So why is traceability important for sustainability? First off, I'd just like to give you a very short introduction to who we are. So I'm working for TCO Development, who is the company behind the sustainability certification TCO Certified, and we've been around for 29 years. And what we're trying to do is to strive towards a more sustainable life cycle for electronics. That's what we're pushing for, and we're set up as a non-profit. So that's our only agenda. We're not after the money. We call ourselves a complete sustainability certification, since we include both social and environmental criteria in the certification, so both for the planet and the people. And as of today, we cover 11 different product categories, such as the display you are currently looking at, but also back-end products such as data center stuff like servers, networking equipment, and so forth. To stay up to date, we release a new generation of criteria every 3 years, and this is because the IT industry is moving in such a rapid pace, so we need to do so as well. And for you to be able to trust what we are doing, we are a so-called Type 1 label, which means that we need to use independent verification of all our criteria. And on top of that, we are a member of the Global Eco-Labeling Network, which is an even harder thing to achieve than the Type 1. So that's very short. So let's get back to why is traceability important for sustainability. I just focus in on the waste perspective since I only have 5 minutes. There's so much to talk about. But if we look at the waste perspective, around 44.7 million metric tons was generated in 2016. But of these 44.7 million, only about 20% were accounted for. The rest, the 80%, we don't know where they actually went. And this creates a lot of different problems around the globe. So one of them is the illegal shipping taking place, where a lot of products are being dumped in developing countries. And this is, in fact, a direct result of a lack of traceability. So here we have a huge opportunity with the traceability system. But if we take a step back and look at, the future predictions, we can see this is not something that is tapering off. This is not something that is slowing down. It's actually one of the fastest growing waste streams in the world, e-waste that is. So up until 2030, the projection is that we will almost double in size when it comes to e-waste generation. So this is also why the need for traceability is so big. And if we then yet again take a more holistic approach to the problem, to sustainability, what we saw in the previous pictures, that was the visible waste. And as you usually say, it's just the tip of the iceberg, because the majority of the waste is actually coming from the manufacturing, the mining, and the energy production phase. And this shows that this problem is so much bigger than those 44.7 million metric tons that we are seeing in 2016. And going in then to, well, we are living in a linear economy as of today, and that is because we are having a hard time tracing everything, both the materials, the parts, the products. So the so-called loops, they're not closed that you would usually want to talk about in the circular economy. But if we are to implement a traceability solution, we will be able to close these so-called loops. So we will be able to create a lot of different services connected to the user to prolong the lifetime of a product. We will be able to refurbish better because we know what's out there. We know which parts are out there, so we can start doing part harvesting. And in the end, if we know what's in the products from the beginning, we will also be able to recycle much more effectively. So with this, now I'm speeding up a lot here to keep within my 5 minutes, but I just want to end with saying the time to act is now. So you as a listener, please do get in touch with the project leaders for KEEP, Christina and Jessica, and see how you can participate in the next phase of developing a so-called product passport or a traceability solution, because this will be key if we are to transcend to the circular economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas, for those nice words. And with that, I leave the floor to Magnus from Svensk Handel, who will talk about what is happening on the EU level with the product passport, because that is very exciting and very linked to what we are doing. So Magnus, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will try to keep it short, and Jessica and Christina has already mentioned the product passport a little bit from the historic side there, and I can just continue. But I think we can just take 1 minute to recollect what are we talking about. Yeah, we're talking about information and data gathering, departing from a sustainability point of view. That is interesting because you can begin to start about product passport from a general business efficiency, logistic point of view. There is all different angles you can take on it. But the Commission and also the Swedish government, starting with this, as mentioned before, have been taking the sustainability point of view here. And as also mentioned, what it's all about is try to gather all structured collection of data and information for all different stakeholders and through a unique identifier. A QR code has been shown here, and it could be other things as well. And what the Commission has said is that it's not going to be some kind of major super database that will be done through this. It will be done through a decentralized system. If we just try to see what are we departing from, you can say that it all departed from the Green Deal. It was also included in the we'll say former government coalition in Sweden, as we are in a new situation since yesterday, where it was said that there will be some kind of development of a product passport, including what a product contains, the origin, and how you can recycle it. And that was done first through the Green Deal, the overall agenda for this mandate period for the Commission, reaching towards until 2024. That has been narrowing down through the Circular Economy Action Plan, which is a little bit more specific. But even more specific is the Sustainable Product Initiative, which is currently now being discussed. And a consultation on the product passport, or the Sustainable Product Initiative, was ended just a couple of weeks ago. But worth mentioning is that product passport has been mentioned and has been up, or it will be up and running already through the new batteries regulation. The battery directive is going to be updated, and there will be a more clear product passport, which will be including who made the batteries, where does it come from, and how long has it been used for, and how many times. So it's a broad perspective. We are right now waiting for a Sustainable Product Initiative legislation. It's supposed to be coming in the end of this year, fourth quarter. That will be the basic fundament legislation for a product passport. So then we will definitely for sure know what the Commission will be looking for. That will of course come down and trickle down to different strategies that the Commission is using. Textile and chemical strategies, two major ones, and prioritized through the legislation here. And that will continue, and what I'm showing here, that the possibilities is endless of what you can then include. And I would just like to end this short presentation with really saying that it needs to be done, a product passport, on a need-to-know basis. And that is what the Commission has said as well. Because the possibilities are endless, but it can be cost driving and it can be administrative burden, which is very, very high. And to build a product passport, it really also need to be future-proof, that it can be used for a long time in all different sectors and from all different kind of stakeholders as well. A balance and inclusions of third country stakeholders is crucial, but to end, definitely improved governance and make sure that this is done in a way that really increase the surveillance and the need and what can be said is good for the development of a product passport. I'll stop there and will be very glad to take questions and further discussions later.
Thank you very much, Magnus. And I'm very happy to see your list here, because I think that all the things that you have in bullet points is something that we have been discussing and very much agreeing with in KEEP. So we are happy for the discussions on the product passport here on the EU level. And thanks for bringing us up to speed on that. With that, we are going into the second block, which is traceability for producers. So first we have Ture Waller from Boyd, which is a subsidiary of Chalmers Industriteknik, who will show us the prototype, which we have been working on. And you will do that by showing your screen. So please do that, and welcome to that.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Nice to see this great interest in the KEEP project. As Christina said, my name is Ture Waller. I work at the design studio Boyd. And as a designer, my role is often to take rather complex and abstract ideas or visions and create something that's a bit easier and a bit more tangible. And I think it's fair to say that that has been my role in this project as well. I joined KEEP in the second phase of the project almost 2 years ago now. And since then, we've conducted extensive user research, trying to map out all the different user needs throughout the value chain. And this research has then culminated into the prototype that I will show you here today. So let's see. Here we go. The prototype can be found at keepelectronics.com. So if you like, you can try it out yourself after this webinar. And as I see it, this prototype serves two large purposes. First, to show the benefits and the information need for the different actors in the value chain. Second, as we've added existing real products from the producing partners of the project, the prototype has also served as a test to see which data is easily obtainable from the producers and which data is hard to get and why. But let's jump into the prototype. When you first launch the prototype, you're asked to select the role with which you want to view the prototype. This is because the different roles have different information needs. So let's say we select the consumer here. You will then be presented with an onboarding highlighting some of the benefits for that specific user group. So for consumers, for example, KEEP could help users select better products by comparing different products. As a consumer, you can also feel safe when buying used, as you could see the product history and make sure the product isn't stolen, for example. You can also access repair guides, making it easier to repair your products and thus making them last longer. And you can also get information about what to do with the products when you don't want to use them anymore. When inside the prototype, there are a few different products to view. We got this example product, which isn't a real product, but a product that contains all the information that was seen useful by the different stakeholders. But then we also have the real products from the producing partners of the project. So we got a monitor from Dustin, we got a coffee maker from Clas Ohlson, a laptop from Lenovo, and a speaker from Transparent. And these real products give a better understanding of what information is actually available today. And as this prototype contains quite a lot of information, we've divided the information into a number of categories, which you find here to the left. And I won't have time to go through each information card in this prototype, but I can give some examples of what we have here. So we got the overview where you can see basic product information and warranty details about the product. We got the product history where you can see specific events that has happened throughout the life cycle of a product. We got environmental impact with carbon footprint and energy efficiency. We got support with repair guides and service requests and troubleshooting. And we also got the certifications and compliances for this specific product. And as I mentioned previously, the information need changes depending on which role you have in this value chain. So if we, for example, switch to a producer's view, you will see that the categories and the information available is updated to show even more information about the product. And I won't go on much longer, but there's one feature I would like to show before handing back over to Christina, and that's the information icon that you find in the top right of each card. This gives information about the content of this card, explaining the information on the card, but it also shows the difficulty rating. And this difficulty rating is a rating for how hard it was to collect this information based on the experiences of the producers when they collected information for us to put into this prototype. And that's actually the next part of this webinar. So with that, I'll hand you back over to Christina, who will moderate that discussion. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Ture, you can also stay if you want to, but then I invite Natalia and Thomas up on the stage as well. I think you're on the way. So, welcome Thomas, and then Natalia as well. And we were supposed to have Henrik here from Claes Olsson as well, but he's unfortunately sick. But I think this will be an excellent discussion. So, Thomas and Natalia, we can start with Thomas maybe. First question, can you describe a bit how you collected the information when you did this test with a prototype?
Yes, I mean, this is quite complicated, as we have discussed also previously here. And we have a lot of different sources for our collection of data. We have, I mean, in the industry we have different kind of, eco declarations. We have different systems where we can collect data. So we have quite a huge amount of data that we have. And this is not what we need here is to be able to keep this. I used the name "keep" here by purpose, to keep this in one place and standardize it. So this is one of the learnings. Maybe now I'm going to future questions here, but this is also one of the learnings that we need to find a way to standardize this and to be able to collect this information in a better way. Yeah. So we have a lot of different sources, which complicates things here.
Thank you very much. Natalia, do you have something to add about when you collected information and your learnings from the process?
No, I think we also experience the same kind of challenges in that sense, that different information is kept by different parts of the organization, and this different information can also be measured in different ways. So there definitely is a need for standardization. I think that would be one of the biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm. If you look at here, because I have put in the right upper corner the different areas that Ture also presented here with the tech specs, product history, materials, etc. Was there some category that was more difficult than the others to collect? If you remember now, it was 1.5 years ago. Thomas?
Well, yeah, I think, of course, the more detailed data is the more difficult to collect. I mean, I'm working normally with environmental and sustainability data, so that is possible for me to collect, of course. But also here we have, like, we have to go quite long way in the supply chain. We are producing the product and we are selling the product on the market, but for example, here we have minerals, and minerals meaning for example, metals or materials in the products. We have some information already, all the manufacturers. We have, of course, a good way of collecting this information. But when it comes to this kind of sharing data that we can share with other persons, it's not so easy to find all these things. But also, I would like to say that during this project, we have seen that other, parallel projects has coming up, like also legislation, like the SKIP database for chemicals, and the EU energy label for monitors and things like that. So they are quite heavily connected to the KEEP idea, which I think it's a good idea, and now KEEP can be the standard to collect all this data.
Yeah, so a traceability system will hopefully also in the future be able to give and upload data to different kind of legislations that we see are coming. Yeah. But I agree. I mean, we see that it's not easy to find all the data, and today there is no information sharing standard. So we know we don't know exactly how we're going to collect this data, but we will be working on that in the next phase. But if we look a bit at the opportunities here, Natalia, when we have this in place with a traceability system or a product passport, which is the information that you are looking forward to being able to share with your customers?
I think there has been quite a strong push lately demanding what are the social conditions in which electronics have been produced. I think a lot of this has been spurred by recent allegations in China, for example. So I think that is something that I would really like to see in the product passport. Somehow, how can we materialize what social impact means and how to measure that, throughout the different actors in the supply chain? As Thomas said, basically it begins with the extraction of these minerals that can both have an environmental impact and a social impact. So where are we going to put conflict minerals, for example? Is it going to be in both areas? And there is an EU regulation coming soon that is regarding human rights due diligence. So hopefully this would be something that would be also part of the product passport, or something that we can showcase through KEEP as well. And then we can kill two birds with one stone, if we can say it like that, because there is a strong demand for our customers, I think, and people in general, to know the conditions in which the products were made, and to have assurance that nothing has been made, with child labor, forced labor, or anything that is degrading to the environment.
Thank you very much. When we discuss traceability, we also see that the producers, you have an important role, because a lot of the information that we want to be able to distribute to other actors, it's you that have that information. But a traceability solution is also a possibility for you to get back information about how products have been used, how they have been recycled, etc. Thomas, do you want to reflect something about that, the opportunities that you see with that, to learn more about the products?
Yes, and of course, here we can also take other things like that has not directly connected to environment and sustainability, like the warranty, for example. We can also trace then maybe better how our products has been working in the life cycle of the product, so to speak. Has it been repaired a lot? What has been repaired? We can learn about that, and also when the product has been used the first time from a company or a private consumer, then they maybe sell it further on to the next user, or it could be refurbished in a refurbishing factory or a refurbishing company. And then we can learn what kind of parts of the product are not strong enough to hold out for the entire life cycle of products, and then we can improve the quality even more about our products. And it's also interesting to see, how long is the lifetime of a product? We don't know exactly today, but with the traceability system, we may learn more about that as well.
Thank you very much. So if I should conclude here a little bit, there are large opportunities with the traceability systems, but there are also a lot of practical issues that needs to be taken care of. So if we should finalize that, I would like you both to conclude that now when we progress with Keep into the next phase, what shall we work with to ensure that a traceability system or a product passport becomes an opportunity for companies, producers to grow and not just a hassle? Natalia, would you like to start? What is important?
Yeah, sure. I think that one of the things that would also, and this is related to talking about the challenges at the beginning, is that there is a lot of manual work involved. And it took fairly some amount of digging and time for us to get the information regarding the screen that you see there. So this means that if you want to go through all the products from a certain company, that's going to take even more work. So ideally, what we would like to see is a way where this information could be extracted automatically somehow, so that when you have this requirement on your manufacturers, then you can actually say, it's not so difficult for them to do it, because the more difficult it is to extract and get this information, the more retaliation there will be for them to actually give this information.
Thank you very much. Thomas, do you have something to add?
Yes, I can just agree on that. And what we need to, some buzzwords here we can use is harmonization and standardization. I think they are, very important words here. And we have some examples like Andreas talked about earlier about the TCO certification. Now all products are not TCO certified, but we have a lot of IT products anyway that are TCO certified, and they have a lot of good information in that certification that we can use. But we need to find more standardization here to be able to collect the data in a good way and to share it with all those parties that will need this information.
Thank you very much. I think that we have an interesting journey ahead of us, and I'm happy that you will also join us in the next phase. So thank you very much, Thomas, Natalia, and Ture. We will go to the next speaker, which is also a producer that has a speaker. That is Martin Willers from Transparent, and you will actually go live and use the prototype on and mark real products. So we are very much looking forward to hearing about this now.
Thank you so much, Christina. It's great to join this esteemed group of experts and researchers like yourself on this really historic day where the Earth is warmer than ever and our government is more broken than ever. I really feel that us sustainable electronic nerds need to join together to really make some important changes into how we operate. So my name is Martin Willers. I'm the founder and CEO of Transparent. I will talk today about how we're trying to use the traceability system for our product, the Light Speaker. I want to sort of briefly, super quick, go through the Transparent journey up until this date and why we are doing this. Then go into the challenges of a traceability system, and finally saying where we're going next. So bear with me in this quick intro. So our journey has been one of crowdfunding. We put our product up on the internet and get people backing us with money for us to make the products. That's created a unique place for us as founders. So we're a founder-driven company that is funded by our users, so we can stay really close and pure to our purpose, which is being transparent, actually in the full sense of the word, and also make timeless modular electronics and offer circular services, which we hope to lead to the desired outcome that we become the first circular consumer tech brand. That's why me and Per wakes up in the morning and work hard at this. Sorry, clicked fast here. We really believe that our background as industrial designers also make us be able to go into the product on a granular level. And being transparent is really the starting point to address what's really unsustainable about our industry. So just want to touch briefly on crowdfunding because it's a unique environment where we really feel that the backers need to join on the tour bus, so to say. So we provide unprecedented updates on the production development. So here's a recent one about the light reflector in the light speaker. And we go into detail what's a challenge in the production, but I wanted to share the comment here from Victoria, which is, I appreciate the focus on sustainability and how you're avoiding production shortcuts to protect this, which is, I think, a forerunner into where the world will be going with more traceability, that actually we will see a concrete feedback loop from actual users as soon as we get some clarity on what traceability means. So making timeless modular electronics for us is really about extending the product lifetime. It's the single most important thing we can do to lower the carbon footprint of the product. So we also offer circular services like these upgrades that are new technologies that you can upgrade the speaker with to get the latest wireless protocols, for example. So that's a quick background. Going into the Keep Traceability project, we were really excited. We're about to launch a new version of our web page where we will have the header transparency. So we were really scratching our heads, what should we put on there? Because it's a really troublesome marketplace at the moment where marketing is doing a good job of confusing the consumers with hundreds of green leaves out there and different stamps. And then also fellow sustainability nerds are doing a good job of abbreviating everything into technical language that's really hard to grasp. So I don't know if you know about this green dot, but as an entrepreneur, it's just mind-boggling that you have to have it in Spain and it's forbidden in France. And if you put it on your packaging, you have to put a administrative fee for every country on the planet. So we can't really have the same packaging just in EU. So we're not fully, streamlined in how we're using the marks yet. So perfect with something that's traceable on the product level. So how we're going to use it is, if you scan your QR code on the product, you will get 1 year more warranty. So there's a big incentive for our users really to continue being on the tour bus, so to say, and staying. We look at not only the lifetime value for our consumers, but also the lifetime value of the product. And this is a great way to interact with that, but also obviously providing traceability. And this Keep project has really taught us, what to put in there. So Rob told us about the depth, the breadth, how precise, the speed, and the access. So I can't go into all of these details, but just as a startup, it's pretty cumbersome to map all these things. What standards should we put in there? How detailed can we go? And really the first point for us is just owning the materials, so that the from farm to table approach, what actually goes into the dish that we're cooking for our users? What are the actual materials as specifically as possible? So this is from the kitchen table that I'm sitting right now, disassembling the prototype, weighting every material, pushing our manufacturing partners to supply detailed information about what is this part? Oh, it's the ABS plastic 757. From what supplier? Oh, it's from this supplier. Okay, when did you get the data sheet from the supplier? Oh, back in 2018. Okay, so it's not totally updated, but it's a high level of transparency. And then we can use that data to get a carbon footprint. And we really found the prototype useful for us to test everything that's going on. Just certification and compliance marks, as you can see, is a long list of international markets that we're launching in. So we can't actually fit all the marks on our products anymore on the base plate. So a QR code is a great solution for users to really find everything that goes into making a great product. Thank you so much for listening to me. Our next steps will be rolling out the light speaker traceability. We'll do a full LCA audit in the fall to see how our data measures up, and then roll it out for our entire product line. That's it. Please email me if you have questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin. I mean, we are really looking forward to seeing this going live and actually knowing that there will be people scanning a code and coming to the Keep, to the prototype and see real data about it. So super exciting. And with that, we actually will take a 5 minutes break. So go up, stretch your legs, grab some coffee, because we will have a lot more interesting things to listen to when we are back 5 minutes to 11. Thank you very much. See you soon. So now it's 5 minutes to 11. So I hope that you are all back because now we're going into the third block here, which is traceability for refurbishers. And first I welcome Emma and Claes to the stage. And they will talk about the need of traceability in the refurbishing process and how traceability can help them. Are you coming up to the stage?
Yes.
Excellent. Very welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. And in the context, it's an honor to be in this crowd of great ambitions and initiatives. So Emma and myself are representing Gudsinlösen in one of those strange Swedish words. We are hence therefore referring to ourselves as GIAB Nordic. We are, since 2014, we have been basing our business on circular business models actually, and we have 4 business areas, whereof 2 are the main business areas where we use circular principles to loop products from e-commerce players, producers, and logistic companies in what we call sustainable return handling procedure. And we have another business area, which is what we refer to as circular insurance services. We are at this time, we've grown into close to 90 people employed and have a turnover of 200 million Swedish crowns, 20 million euros, similar to 20 million euros. Emma will go into what our business is about, and it's more or less the circular process as you know it. And we have been part of the KEEP project as a contributor, but also from an inspirational perspective, getting best of breed, best practice, and exchanging all type of aspects of making a business out of circularity. So we're basing our business on what we call the GIAB circular platform, and I will hand over to Emma to give you more details about the process.
Yes, so I'm shortly going to explain how we use the platform in practice. So all incoming products are registered into the platform, and at this stage, a unique identifier is created by the system. So at this stage, also basic information as product type, brand, and model is also registered. When the products then goes to the technicians and to the refurbishment and repair stage, additional information are put into the system about what repair activities that has been performed, how long time it took, and the pricing for the repair activities. The technicians also put in a grading and also valuation of the products. And since we do this for all our products, we collect a lot of data, which is very useful and valuable for us. We can use it for statistical conclusions and also in our sustainability reportings. So one example is what is the most common repair activity for an iPhone X. And it's also a warranty for customers. If something happens to a product, we can always go back to that unique identifier and see, okay, how have we repaired this product and how can we handle it?
I was just about to, we didn't practice this, Emma, but going back to the slide, I think it's worth mentioning that we do this process and we make business out of it on behalf of our partners, which is mentioned insurance companies, but also e-commerce players. And the reintroduction part, which is part of the whole circularity, we also do. So we bring back the products to the market through our own channels or through our partner channels. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
So the data we derive from the system is the basis for classification, grading, from all the way out to consumer perspective.
Right. Okay, I hope you can see the slide now. We touched on something wrong here. But we wanted to show you some examples from reality. So, and it's also connected to the KEEP project, which is also very useful for us since we repair a lot of electronics every day here. And so this is 2 snapshots from the technicians who repair smartphones every day. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, it's from the platform and from the repair management. So here the technicians can choose what repair activities they are doing to a smartphone, for example. And this is in Swedish now, but an example is change of battery, cleaning, etc. And so this is super useful for us.
So to summarize, traceability is a hygiene level factor for us to maintain a very viable business. We need to have the traceability in the sense of data derived all the way, of course, to calculate the footprint and waste savings and all those things, but also from a product and consumer perspective to make the consumer feel comfortable in buying reused stuff. There needs to be the product story, so to speak, very similar to the product passport. And all these things gathers up in the big data that we have and are contributing to within the KEEP project, but also in the KEEP project having the inspiration from the overall discussions, as you've seen earlier in this presentation. So we're looking forward to phase 3 and are looking forward to waste an extensive amount of questions in the open discussion.
Thank you very much, Emma and Claes. It was really interesting to see all the things you're already doing. And now we are leaving the floor to Hannes Mäki, who is now employed at TCO Development. But earlier this spring, he was an intern at Chalmers Industriteknik doing a prototype for how to work with traceability in the refurbishment process. So Hannes, very welcome.
Yes, hello everybody. As Kristina said, I'm going to talk a little bit about this remanufacturing testbed prototype that I worked on this spring when I did an internship at CIT. And I'm going to start with a little bit of background and then take a giant leap to the results, which is the focus of this occasion. So in the beginning, the idea was that we needed to create something that allows us to learn how to work with product data within the remanufacturing process. And to do that, we needed to have something that we can test in different settings in real life. And then we also wanted to find out how can we create a sustainable checkpoint for traceability systems at the end of the user phase. And then taking a giant leap forward, it resulted in a smartphone application that is designed to be able to be used in a lot of different kind of business models and different workflows, because there's so many different of them within remanufacturing. And also, since we want this to be something that's viable in the long run, we also need to create some benefits for the remanufacturer. And those are increased predictability over the process, and then capture more value both in the collection phase, but also when you're communicating towards your customers. And then, of course, it's also a way to prepare for different kinds of remanufacturing certifications and handling product passport data in the future. And, oh, now it's working. Yeah, how it does this is basically offering a very easy and structured way to work with data, and then also receive data from traceability systems and also send it forward. So then we also looked at some additional functionalities that would be able to speed up the efficiency of working with this platform and also create additional value in form of a more scalable remanufacturing business and similar. And onwards to the actual prototype. I'm going pretty fast because I only have 5 minutes, just so, yeah, mention that. Starting with the home/navigation screens, it's pretty straightforward. It's you have your own errands, all other errands that's going on and some statistics. And this is based on the GIAB internal platform repair management. And in the bottom of the screen, you have this scanner button, which you access if you want to interact with the product. So let's say that you have just received a product, and then you scan the unique tag if it has one. But if it don't have one, you can put one on. And in the case that you put one on, so there is no traceability data already, you will be, or like you will create a database record either how, but if there is no data, it will be empty. So what you do is you proceed to fill this record, and first with the product information, and you do this by taking photos and scanning labels, and if needed, also filling in forms. And then you move on to the individual specific data, which is basically logging the damage, setting the condition, and deciding the initial grade. And at this point, the product is fully checked in. So if you would close down this and open it again, or just press save, it would look like this. So at the top of the screen, you have the product information, and the second half, you can see the product's way through the remanufacturing process. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that this particular product has been received. It took 5 minutes to check in, and that translates to a cost of 30 kroners. And right now, somebody is replacing a component. And to the right, you can see a little bit further on when it's ready to check out. So when you press that, you will receive a summary of what's been done to it, and then you will be asked to grade it on the way out. And after that, you end the process by scanning the permanent tag that is connected to the traceability system. And you get some kind of confirmation with a little information what's been done. And then the data can be used to either communicate it to your customer or other stakeholders, but it can of course also be used to improve your own operations. And then I of course showed this to some remanufacturers, and the overall reaction was very positive, but it was for very many different reasons depending on which type of business model the individual company had. Although there were two big takeaways from this, and one was that the basic functionality is well enough, so we should going forward focus on those and not maybe these more advanced machine learning based functions and similar. And also that we need to be really clear when we explain how these like the extra time and costs will be dealt with. And then I also made a roadmap over the continuous progress, but I won't have time to go into that in detail, unfortunately. But I thought I'd leave it here since you probably will get these slides sent on an email afterwards. And yeah, that was everything from me. So if you have any questions, please write them down and save them for the discussions later. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Hannes, for that presentation. It's not easy to summarize that much work in 5 minutes. And with that, we go to the fourth block, which is the continuation of the KEEP project. And I leave the floor to Jessica. Very welcome.
Thank you very much. After 3 years of KEEP, it's not done. We want to continue, and I will summarize a little bit about our next phase, the next project in KEEP. We have shown that picture earlier. So the idea of KEEP is to collect information throughout the whole life cycle, and that different actors can communicate, and of course then to expand the life cycle and let the product live longer. And we have identified different areas for further investigation within the next project. And we have in our first work package, we want to focus on information sharing standard and the back end. How do we, what information, or how do we share the information? Which standard do we use? In work package 2, we want to focus on the production and sales and do physical tests. And then in work package 3, we want to focus on the remanufacturing and end of life I have a little more information. So the first one was information sharing standard and backend. So our objective in the next step will be to develop a common standard for information sharing and access, since we believe that there will not only be one traceability system out there. There are different initiatives, different countries. There are different products, maybe also who have to communicate. So every producer will have to store their own data in a distributed data storage system, and we need a common language, a common standard for the sharing and access. This can, for example, be done through a distributed routing layer. And then we want to develop and implement an architecture for trusted data access, because once, we have to decide how do we verify the data which comes in the system, but also how do we make sure that the data in the system is not changed or misused anyway, because we should have a system that is that can be trusted. In the next work package, we focus on production sales, and here's the objective that we really test how products can be tagged with a unique product identity by manufacturers, and what value can be gained by this kind of sharing of information throughout the life cycle. So we do that in different activities. We will decide which information should be shared. That is together with all the project partners. We have to start on a decent list that is doable for everyone. Then we have to develop a data collection system and interfaces and apps, so we can present the data, we can build on the prototype, or use different organizations which we will work together with, who have come far, or quite far partly even. And then we will test that by taking a product at our manufacturers and sell the products on the usual market, and then collect and analyze the data and how actors use that, and maybe take different decisions. And we'd want to do a similar test much later in the life cycle, where we also take products. Of course, with a development project as in KEEP, which is 2 years long, we cannot actually wait until a product arrives at the remanufacturer. So we have to do a test later on, where we already take a product later. We have the prototype, which Hannes had presented earlier. So we can, for example, take a product once it's at the remanufacturer. And also here we have to develop a prototype for starting the traceability at the remanufacturer, and then we want to test the solution. What is our next step? We are aiming now to continue with KEEP and working together here with 5 Swedish innovation programs, and where there will be several different traceability projects which are anchored in different industry working together. So there are some questions like an information sharing standard, which all the traceability systems have to solve. So why not working together in a national, bigger project? But KEEP is the only one who's focused on electric and electronic products. And we are rounding right now. We are in an application process, so we are rounding up things now in the first draft, and but then we'll send out the second application after summer. So if you listening and you want to be part of KEEP, don't hesitate to contact me. The sooner the better. We will find how we can involve you, either per email or you go over our web page. There is a formula you can write in. And we hope we're going to start then after summer. I put now down September, but it could be October. And during the last weeks, we have had several conversations, and this is the team for the next step. We have different companies at the information sharing standard and backend, work package, production and sales, and the remanufacturing end of life. We're very, very thrilled that we have many new partners and continue the KEEP journey. Thank you.
And with that, we also invite Staffan on stage, who will talk a bit about information sharing standard. And we have heard here, Staffan, how important it is. So the pressure is on. And you are soon on stage, I hope.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, always
Very welcome.
always a bit pressure on having a new platform, but now it works fine. So I will just switch to my. So there we go. So product passport. So I'm not going to present too much about GS1 since I only have 5 minutes, and that might take all day. So what we're doing from a global level within GS1, which is a global organization, we're kind of stumbled across this concept of product passport while doing something else. I'll just jump into that very shortly. But as an introduction, I'd like to just show this diagram that I stole or borrowed from the Keep project. We just saw it in one of the previous slides. This decentralized system. How do you do that? How do you connect various sources of data when it's not desirable to put all the data in one place? Because we know that once you have a central database, the first problem is that the minute you upload data, well, the next minute it's old. And the other problem is that if you have a central database, I'm sure there are also 25 others that also have central databases. So then it's not central at all unless you connect all the central databases. So what we've been working on for some time is to find a solution on how to, rather than sending the data to the user, sending the user to the data. So what we've come up with is, taking the regular barcodes. So since GS1 is the organization that licenses barcodes and global trade item numbers for the world. By the way, these numbers celebrate the 50th anniversary today. So the first version of these numbers were designed in 1971, and they're still in use. So everything can be identified with that. But when we combine this system that we know work for retail, and we combine it with World Wide Web, we get GS1 Digital Link. It's a new standard where we actually take the GS1 standards and make them useful online in a better way than we used to. So you see up to the top there on the left, there's a barcode. So I took the same numbers, and what we pretty much do is we take the same numbers that are assigned to identify a product and put them in a web link according to standards. You can see here, we can also say that in this link, it says GTIN, Global Trade Item Number. So it means that any system parsing this web link can either just go to the link. No, that's easy. That's what you do with your regular smartphone. Or you can extract the number at the point of sale situation and charge a consumer, have a consumer pay the right amount of money to get the product. So we created this set of standards. This one is one of them, how you create a standardized link to encode all the identifiers that are managed within the GS1 standards. There's also a standard for the middle, the cheese there in the middle that says the resolver on it. So that is a standard for how to translate a GS1 number into multiple sources of data. So we have standardized, what links you may be needed to access other types of data. And this linked list in the resolver is, of course, managed by the company that has a license for the number. So it means that if you own your products and you want to make people getting access to data about your product, but you're not hosting the data yourself, you can just host and manage the links to where this data is stored. So, for instance, if you have a product that is TCO certified, you don't have to have all the TCO documentation on your website. You can just have a link to the TCO website, and they will have all the data, and it will be the fresh and most appropriate version of that data. So in that case, you can actually realize the network that in the previous slide, where everyone that owns data can store the data and manage the data himself in any way he wants and make it available to the world and accessible through these standards. And all you need to do is to pretty much keep identifying the products the way they've been identified for 50 years, but just add the link inside a QR code or any other data carrier that can carry links to make available this data to whoever wants it. And the result there, so I've presented this a couple of times, so I kept borrowing from the Keep project. So even though the data can be stored in multiple places, it doesn't have to, the user won't see that. So it's still, even though the prototype here that we've been seeing today is a centralized solution, but from a user point of view, when it's decentralized, it could be just as nice and simple and accessible. You just don't have to know where all the sources are. So for an app provider coming into this world can just connect to this system, connect to the resolver function, and could even be more than one resolver, so it doesn't have to be a monopoly even there, so they can connect to each other, which means that anyone can access this data and present it in a good way, meaning it's even more accessible. And it doesn't have to be mobile apps, it could be any system reaching this infrastructure to get all the data. And then of course there has to be some some security mechanisms on top to manage access control for information that may be sensitive and stuff like that. But all in all, we have the standards ready. They're fairly new. They're released. The last version was released earlier this year, and we're testing it in multiple places across the world, and it seems to work. It's actually, the reason it works is that it's really simple, and it's just combining old standards that have existed for many years. So combining the GS1 standards for product identification with the World Wide Web standards on how to, basically how hyperlinks work. And that was, released in the 90s. So this is really nice, and we hope and look forward to participating in phase 2 to make sure that this will all come together and work. And of course, it would be easier to just create a central solution in the beginning. But once we're up and running with a decentralized solution, it would be much more flexible, much more easy to add new data sources. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for those words. And I think we've been discussing that centralized work contra decentralized. And I mean, now I think we all agree that we need to go the decentralized way. So we are very happy that we have solutions.
Just a final word on that, even the EU Commission is now using the term decentralized when they talk about product passport, because they realize they don't want or need a centralized database. So this might just happen.
Sounds excellent. Thank you very much. Now we have last but definitely not least, I was going to say, Fredrik Benson from Elkretsen. I mean, you have been working Elkretsen with taking care of products for a long time, and we are very happy to hear about what you think about traceability and how it fits into the very important work that you are doing.
Thank you. I'm in control, yes. So from Elkretsen's point of view, traceability is the next step for producer responsibility. And we think it's important because it's going to make it much more easier to make circular decisions. And also, it's going to make producer responsibility more efficient. And I will try to, in a short, comprehensive way, tell you why. My colleagues here in the project who has been talking about the benefits of traceability has been summarizing most of it, but from a PRO perspective, we see that the resources are what we are talking about, and traceability it's going to make it more efficient to manage the resources, and that's what we think is important. And I think it's important that we start to use the word resources more than waste, and not only talking about products, because there are more resources put in a product than just materials. And I think it's important that we manage these resources in a more useful way. And the resources that I'm talking about is, of course, materials, and that's the main focus from a producer responsibility perspective, because that's what's in the legislation. But we must not forget the energy that's put in, not just the sweat and tears from the developers and other people, but also the energy put in the production. Andreas was talking about that. We are handling the tip of the iceberg when we are taking care of the resources in the end. And we also have to discuss the resources put in the beginning, but also the resources and the energy that we have to put in the end to take back the resources from the products. And of course the time. And the time is also important because we put a lot of effort in these products, and sometimes we are making I call it a muesli. We're chewing it to pieces and then putting it back together to the same thing, and then we are wasting material, energy, and time, and that's not cost efficient, and that's not efficient from an environmental perspective. So having traceability is going to make it much easier and more efficient to increase the possibilities to use the resources in a much better way. And of course, the main focus here is to be more reasonable with the resources, so that the environment is not going to pay the price. Because in the end, it's going to be the environment is going to pay the price. And would I say that today we are not so good at material recycling? No, but we are quite blunt in the way we are doing this kind of recycling today, because we don't have all the information, and we don't always do the right decisions with the materials, because we don't know what's in the product. We don't know if should this product even be recycled? Should it be reused instead? Should it be part of a remanufacturing process? So having those possibilities and have the traceability and the information to take those decisions, it's going to make this producer responsibility 3.0, as we try to call it internally at Elkridsen. It's going to put us in another situation. It's going to be the future of producer responsibility, not just for the organization that's going to solve the producer responsibility, but also for the companies like Thomas Edin was talking about. It's going to give them back information and make better products and make even more quality products, and with a higher level of higher level of quality, and also be better for the consumer, and also to the producers to have a better business deal. That's all I had to talk about, Christina, and I hope that more will join us in the journey for KEEP in the phase 3.
Yeah,
so
thank you very much for those words, Fredrik. I'm really looking forward to this producer responsibility 3.0. And with that, I would like to invite all the speakers these 2 hours on stage. And we will have a bit of a panel discussion. So they are all coming up. Excellent. And I see here that we have some questions already from the audience, so we will start with those. And I think it's good that the ones that are not speaking, please mute. I hear some background noises here. Yeah, and it's excellent. We have Thomas and Martin here. And I hope that Natalia is coming also, because the first question is to you. It's from Seb at Twist, and he is wondering, with moving to a more circular model, will this also require a move to a new or adapted business model? So Martin, Thomas, and Natalia, is there any one of you who would like to answer that question? Do we need new business models?
Yeah, we do. I can start. I think from a business perspective, it's quite like I think I touched on it briefly in my presentation. I was mentioning that, as a D2C brand, that's a big branch, we're selling directly to consumer. We have this word LTV, which means lifetime value, which is, we want to be part of your life, sell more products to you, sell services to you. But what's coming is product lifetime value. So why wouldn't we want to earn money on our products for several circles? And I think that's really the future of taking care of our resources better as a company, is to just be involved with our products, buy them back, refurbish them, rent them out, and all these business models have few quirks into them. But to be honest, after launching a global consumer electronics brand, those are very small challenges. To polish up a speaker with some paper is much easier than a lot of the other challenges you face as an entrepreneur. So I think that we'll see that exponentially happening over the next few years.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thomas and Natalia, would you like to add something?
I can say something, and I think it's something that we have seen as requests from our customers, especially in the LCP sector, where they go like, okay, we want to purchase X amount of products and we want to know if 20% of those can be refurbished, or what's the maximum percent of products that you can give us that are refurbished. Or we get also clients asking, can I rent this instead of buying it? So I think it's already something that people are asking for, and we just keep getting more in demand in the future.
Yeah, and I can add on that we are also going the same direction here in our company, and we are introducing, among other electronic companies, a device as a service or a product as a service in a similar way as we have seen for cars and other kind of equipment. So I agree that we are focusing also more on that, and we see also more and more questions from customers where then they are talking about TCO in another way than TCO certified, and that means total cost of ownership. They want to know that as well. So I think for sure we are, but I think Keep here is a very good tool for this future upcoming requirements.
Yeah, great, because I had that question coming to you, that with these new business models, do you see that these traceability solutions can help you to move faster into new ways of both making sure that product lasts longer and also having different kind of purchasing models, so you rent them or lease them instead of buying them?
Yes, is the short answer there, I think.
Good. Great, thank you. Then we have a more technical question here from Lena Kosila. What about the software and user data on the actual unit? Is handling this also a part of the project, product passport, etc.? And I think that there are many persons that can answer that. I don't know if Ture, if you would like to start. When you were developing the prototype, we were also discussing using data from which in the phones, for example.
Yeah, sure. And that's a tricky question in some way, as that could be quite sensitive, like the user data. And I think we haven't really got the solution for it yet. I think this is something that we need to continue working on and see what kind of restrictions there are in terms of that, what partners in the chain can access which information and so on. So it's quite difficult to answer.
Is there someone who would like to add something to that? Thomas, have you been discussing that at Lenovo, for example?
Well, Lenovo is a quite, how to say, big company, and we are a global company. So I'm not sure that I can answer this question directly.
That's completely fine.
Yeah.
No worries. We can go to the next.
I can say something. I'll just sign the friendly A here, non-disclosure now. We look at this a lot, and one of our previous ideas that we had for crowdfunding that we didn't get a unison feedback was to have sensors hearing if the product breaks in any way, and then that would be a user value for us to track that somehow, because we always like trying to think about the two-sidedness of the model. So as a company who doesn't want data about, how quickly do we need repairs over the lifetime, etc., that's just pure business intelligence. But as a consumer perspective, why should I even install an app? I think there's a fatigue in the data collection. And now with the new iOS update, where you're saying no to cookies 100 times per day, you're now saying no to being tracked 100 times a day, added on a layer like that. So we just want to declutter that as much as we can and be really cognizant of, what are we collecting here? And that I think is a tricky bit. So you really need to sort of think of ways where, okay, you're going to listen to Melody Eurovision Song Contest, we'll send you free popcorn. How are we enhancing the experience for the user here? And I think that perspective can get lost quite easily.
Great input. Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to add something to that? We have something more to dig into in the next phase. The next question, I think I will like to direct to Andreas at TCO. There's a question how data is verified, and how can you do that in a good way in a traceability system? Also a question we've been discussing a lot. So
yeah, I mean it's a very important question. That's also a big reason why we're in the KEEP project, to make sure that there will be sort of different layers of trustability inside of the traceability system, so to speak. So there could be verified data, self-declared data, and depending on who you are in the supply chain and what you want to do with this data, it can be important for you if this data is actually third-party verified or not. So you will be able to trust the data to 100% and not just self-declared data, because it could create a lot of problems. So as an example, let's say that you are a recycling plant that wants to recycle a product. Self-declared data comes into this traceability system saying, no, there are no hazardous substances in this product. And they go ahead and shred this product to extract some of the materials, and they blend this with all the other products that also have self-declared values saying, no hazardous substances in these products. And then we make children's toys out of these plastics and these products. And in these plastics, there are a lot of hazardous chemicals that end up in the hands of children. I mean, there we actually would need to have third-party verified data that, okay, there are no hazardous chemicals inside of these materials, else we will not be able to do a blend of these materials and then sell them and produce children toys with these materials. So I see there are a lot of value with verified data in this system. And that's what we want to bring to the table with our certification.
Yeah. And I think...
Sorry.
But can just continue.
Yeah, it's a problem, though, like with for example, we want to buy recycled plastics, right? But how certified can a plastic mix be today? How important is it for us to have, guarantees zero toxicity in our, enclosure for the electronics? Our users are not gonna, lick that product or suck on it. So it's a tricky area, I think, where, harmonization is good, but at the same time, we need this very pragmatic approach on resources, basically allowing us to make products with, as long as it's recycled and we're not putting down to earth, at some point it's a more controlled place to put reused materials.
Yeah, but I mean, your products, sure, no one will lick your products, but when they come to the recycling facility and they get mixed up, and maybe you don't need to focus in so much on this, but in the end, your materials will end up in something else. So it is a problem for everyone.
No, it's just a black and white, goggles when it comes to sustainability often hurts entrepreneurship and innovation. And I think I just want to point that out. Typically, we limit the access to waste streams to entrepreneurs and innovation because we're like erring on the safety end of the perspective rather than investigating the gray zone. So it's just something I want to push from an EU perspective, that we really sort of look in the middle ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good point. And if I can add something, I think that when we're discussing this with verifying data, that sometimes everything might not have to be certified by a third-party organization, but it's very important that it states whether the data is verified or not and who has verified it. So as a consumer, if you can see that it's not a third-party organization that's verified this, but it's a producer, and this is a producer I trust. So if they say this, then I choose to believe it. So I really think that there are many ways forward. Magnus?
There, I can just add, and talking about data and information, I think we need to remember that it's important to see if it needs to be very specific or if it needs to be general, because some information, some data really need to be very, very specific. That it's for how many times has a product been used? That need to be on this specific product. But then it's some other information that there's no need for it to be so specific. So that can at least be a little bit differentiation there between how it's done, and then of course it's difference in how important it is to really verify it as well down to a product-specific level. And that, of course, is very important because, as we have seen this morning, I mean, it's very interesting to see, and you can see that every kind of perspective can be included here. And as mentioned, I think in this study made, the fear that this will be cost driving and administrative burden need to be considered at all levels as well, because otherwise we will end up with the first question there regarding competition and how can we make sure that we develop new business models. If we only within the EU, then Sweden EU, develop business model based on traceability and product passport, and it's not done in other parts of the world. Of course, some business models, they can be good for the competition, but if it's not regulated somehow in the production and the sales from imported products from other countries, there will be problems in developing new business models.
No, I completely agree. And I'm a bit curious because you are representing a lot of Swedish companies, Magnus. You have them as your members. What is their view on the discussions about the product passport? Do they see this as something difficult they have to do, or do they also see the opportunities with it?
Definitely the opportunities. That's for sure, because I think we need to remember that many companies, and you see here today, is working on this in different aspects already. What is happening now is that we gather all these different initiatives, all this work being done by organization, by businesses, and with the interest from the authorities, from the different governments. So what I think need to just be very, very clear is that you begin from a really need to know basis, because good to know, it's very easy to include here or add, but not to make sure that we go too fast, because that will definitely be negative for the whole concept and for the whole development.
Yeah, and I think that is also something we've been discussing a lot, is that, I mean, when we have developed the prototype here in KEEP phase 2, I mean, it's a quite long list with different kind of information that we want to see in the long run for all products, but it will take a while until we get there. And when we take the next step and start actually doing this for real, maybe we should not have 100 data entry points. We will start with a few to show that this is how the system can be set up, and then you can build on. And I think, as Staffan pointed out as well, that this will be much easier to do when you have a decentralized system, because then you can add information along the way. But as we also been discussing, you need to ensure that data is not tricked with and that you can certify it, so it's the correct data still. I thought now the time is running, and I would like to spend the last 10 minutes actually discussing a bit the way forward. I think we got a lot of interesting input on why traceability is important, some concrete ideas on what you can do, and also some ideas for the future. But we can start with maybe Gotsinlösen, Emma and Claes. When we now look ahead on KEEP and the next phase, what do you think is really important that we work with to actually get the product passport or the traceability system out there?
From the big perspective, I think driving as a big driving force, I think it's the standardization that is getting somewhere with that. Not only from a certification perspective, but average data collection on to make the ecosystem of spare parts and reuse in spare parts from other dismantle products easier. That is what I think is from our perspective, as we already do it, but getting more actors, players in that community would add on to something very interesting from our perspective.
Thank you very much. Fredrik Benson, you talked a little bit about it, how you see the link to traceability and the development of the producer responsibility organization. Would you like to add something from the larger KEEP perspective or a traceability perspective? What do we really need to do to move along in a good way the upcoming years?
Yeah, I think the discussion just handle about, what kind of data we need. I think we have to start with the easy ones, and I would start with the ones that's going to make the biggest difference right now, not in the long run. One example is what Klaus was talking about is how the refurbishment business. We could, like from a PRO perspective, we could be part of the harvest for getting spare parts. And to look at the car industry, we could be a much larger player in that area. And I also think that the producer responsibility organizations and the collection, the way we are collecting could be changed if we have more information. If some producers would start using it, they would get some more benefits than the rest of them. Because just to be clear, that this is going to take a really long time to implement, because some of the products that put on market today, it's going to take 10 years before we see them, and they won't have any QR codes on them. So we have to have dual systems anyway. So why don't give the producers who will actually take the step and share useful information some benefits from it? And like Martin was talking about your speakers, if you were a QR codes on them, then we could achieve them. Maybe we could send them back to you. And so you could be yourself, take the parts you need, and or if you need help with extracting your plastics, that could be possible if the quantities are big enough, of course. So just extracting verified resources could be beneficial, and the rest they will be in the back in the classroom, and the naughty ones. So
yeah,
I think
so
that's
more carrots than sticks here. We give benefits to the ones that actually work with traceability.
Yeah, you give the carrots to the ones who are trying to do something, because to be honest, today the system and in the entire Europe is built on that we share the waste, and there is no really great benefit from being the best in the class. So I think that you have to give more carrots. So.
Andreas, I mean, you are working with giving carrots in a way, you can say, by giving them an excellent certification when they have sustainable products. Do you want to reflect a bit about the future path of traceability and link to your work?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very ambitious roadmap in front of us that we're working on, that we want to start communicating very soon. And there's a lot of different services that we want to be able to offer to the purchasers that are currently using TISO Certify in their procurement. And one of them is actually to start maybe buying products that has already been certified, to jack into the system of creating demand for more sustainable products by driving the certification. That is one way. But also we want to start promoting, for example, EPR systems that are doing more than others by having them on a sort of an accepted list of remanufacturers, recyclers, or EPRs. So we're looking into a lot of different things. And to be able to do so, we need to be able to track all the products, where they're going, to see who's handling what and what not. So yeah, I'm very excited. If KEEP doesn't take off, contact me and I'll make sure it will. I'll pick up the torch for sure, because we need this type of system.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear. We hope we won't lose it, but we are very happy to collaborate with you to get it forward.
I'm sure you will not. I have full trust in you.
Magnus, I was thinking from your perspective, because you are not an official project partner of KEEP, even if we have been collaborating the last year, from more an outside perspective, what do you think that we should work with to help your members?
I would like to add there, talking about the future. I think this project is very, very important to continue to develop, and it's so encouraging to see all the different stakeholders and being able to inform, for example, Commission representative officials about this project it's a very good example of how you can develop both the what and the how, because I think we really in the future here with a more coming legislation in this area, we need to make sure that first of all what would be included, and that's what you're working with, and definitely the how then. How can it really make sure that it works for every different stakeholder through the whole supply chain? We've been talking today from the very basic raw material in the beginning and the production process and due diligence requirements, all the way then down to recycling and making sure that we have new material in new products again, or recycled material in new products again. I think I've been using the word visualize quite a lot when talking about product passport, and that's what I think need to be continuing the aim here as well, to visualize what are we talking about, because there is not that many examples, and that's why this is so important.
I'm very happy to hear that, because that's something we have been discussing with as well, that this was important here in the second phase, because we realized in the pre-study that what a traceability system is, it's very different for different people, and it's quite a vague term. So, I mean, for us, the step 2 was also very much about getting the prototypes, give an example of this is what it can be, this can be the benefits, this is how you can use it. So happy to hear that we maybe came that far. Martin?
Unmute. Yeah, I think when I have Magnus on the line, I want to share an important perspective. My last company, we helped a lot of consumer electronic startups as well. So I've seen a lot of businesses struggle with, it's a lot of this is perceived as taxation. Imagine you have a product that you will sell for 1,000 crowns. The minimum order quantity in electronics manufacturing is typical 10,000 units. So let's say you have to sell 10,000 your first year. So you take investments for that. Then your turnover will be 10 million Swedish. Actually, the certification cost that first year is 1 million crowns. A lot of people don't understand that. For a lot of European markets, if you just sell one product, you have to do the whole V administration fee, which very little goes into actual environmental protection. You just do a lot of administration costs. Then you have the CE certification, the V, it just piles on. And I think, it's from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's just seen as tax. So if we can change, I mean, from my perspective, I a little bit try to use this passport as a leverage to progress accountability in supply chains. So that's a positive, and also building trust with consumers. But it would be really good to get more understanding, I think, from a government perspective, that we are quite heavily taxed, 10% the first year, of trying to get an innovation into the world, facing global shipping, facing global shortage of components, facing everything else that we're facing is really unbearable. So, if the Swedish government can view this as a taxation on innovation, I think the perspective might change to, how can we really incentivize more entrepreneurs to do this certification? Well, probably some tax alleviation or understanding of the actual challenges in this, and then just really promoting us that they're doing a good job in this better, and I think that these kind of platforms will surface some of the good jobs we're doing, but I just want to share that perspective that a lot of people don't understand it's 10% of your first year.
No, I can just agree on the challenges there, and especially when we're talking about government and different authorities being involved, because as it is in many organizations, everyone is working very, very much on their own. But what is encouraging in this perspective as well, at least, is that the Commission have a working group, which is put together by, I think it's 3 or 4 different directorates within the Commission. So at least it's encouraging to see them working together and make sure that when we're talking about developing product passport, it will be with the aim to really reduce the administrative cost, to really smoothen the way business being done, and at the same time fulfilling the obligations and what is required from the authorities. But the fear is that it can be the other way around. But at least I think with the development of the product passport concept, it's really good, because the different now with the April, the labeling for energy products and the database then for chemicals of concerning products, that's typical examples of how you're working and not communicating with each other within the authorities.
Thank you very much. Andreas?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, the thing that you bring up there, Martin, with the incentivizing, lowering tax if you do certify. And this is also something that we try to look into with TCO Certify. How can we increase the value of the certification just beyond the certification itself? And one way of doing so would be that, for example, sharing data within this sort of traceability solution, creating more carrot than stick. If you are certifying your products, you will then also access these different values, maybe within the traceability system called Keep now, but who knows what it will be called in the future. So I really strongly agree with you there, Martin, that's really interesting to work with, finding these additional values or lowering costs, because I think that will be key.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, the more carrots we can find with the traceability systems, the more we'll implement it faster. Now time is really running up, so I would like, Natalia, you get the big honor to say the last few words. Where do we take Keep in the next phase?
Well, from my perspective, I think we have been thinking a lot about, giving more carrots in this the last 10, 15 minutes. I'm also thinking about how we could, for example, us as producers, give incentives to our manufacturers as well to be able to understand what we want when it comes to these requirements. I'm thinking about conflict minerals, for example, where a lot of small companies actually use these minerals in production, but they actually don't know where they originate or how to do the due diligence in terms of that. And the same thing comes with hazardous chemicals and many other aspects in sustainability. So I think it'll be good to see how we can give an incentive to also our manufacturers to understand what we want with these requirements and how to do it, so that we can, to some extent, give assurance on the data that we're getting, that we're going to be using and showcasing in Keep.
Thank you very much. So with those words, I think we end this webinar. Thank you everyone so much. Both you have been doing excellent presentations and giving us a lot of great insights, and to everyone listening as well. If you're interested in knowing more about Keep or joining us in some way, please contact Jessica. You have seen her contact details by now. And after this webinar, we will send out both a link to this presentation, the slides that we showed, and our final report as well. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work and have a nice lunch. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice summer.
Bye-bye. Happy summer.